Hey, welcome back to another episode here. So, I've been working on this article about Solarpunk and how black people need to be involved in that, right? And I was just going to do an article, but I figured it's been a minute since I did a video, so might as well just record myself doing that. It may or may not turn into a video essay depending on like how much time I have to like edit and stuff like that. I may just put it out like this. I don't know. We'll see. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. So I will be reading a script here, right? So it won't be off the top. All right. So I've been a big fan of the solar punk movement for years now. I forget when I first heard of it, but it was a bit before the infamous yoga commercial that helped boost the idea. I happened to see the decommodified version first and was excited to see such a visually engaging depiction get so popular so quickly. Since then, I sought out solarpunk fiction and even real world examples that I could do at home or otherwise use as proof that this wasn't just pretty aesthetics. However, a big point of frustration has been one, seeing how many solarpunk stories feature little to no black people and how few long form media there is either way, and two, how certain kinds of people, but not always, are so quick to dismiss, bastardize, or separate the solar from the punk. I think these are related. In my community, folks are often intrigued when I introduce the idea to them, but it's nonetheless a slight bit nerve wracking that even the most radical people I know have no idea what they're doing in real life is the type of stuff others fantasize, right? Too often, media makes mythologies of praxis and underrepresents the role black people play in revolutionary change or even renders them invisible due to an inherent misunderstanding or discomfort with racialization. As someone who has always been a huge fan of sci fi and fantasy, I've long since had to deal with the lack of representation in the media, even when there is representation is often tokenish or diverse from black culture, especially the black radical struggle, right? So I've been able to find some great inclusive media in the past few years, largely thanks to Afrofuturism and Black Girl Magic, but there is something unique about solarpunk specifically that I really want more black folk to be able to participate in. Unlike any other genre of media, solarpunk is uniquely unafraid to imagine better futures, dare I say utopias. Most every other genre of fiction has some sort of dystopian elements to it, or at the very least, just a transfer of modern day problems into a fantasy or sci fi world. I hate that. Because that means, even in the space of our imaginations, where anything can happen, the vast majority of people cannot imagine what life could be like if things were legitimately better. If we didn't have to worry about some form of racism, sexism, classism, queerphobia, poverty, war, or other form of authoritarianism, I guarantee you, even people who just read that line will be like, yeah, of course, that's just human nature. And that is the problem. Or heard that line in this case. If we can't even imagine humans being better to each other, then of course we will never build a truly better society. Where will we be if Harriet Tubman and Toussaint Louverture and other enslaved folks could not imagine themselves outside of slavery? If Martin Luther King did not have a dream? If the Black Panthers just wanted to be the Black KKK instead of Black revolutionaries championing peace and love? We need to be able to envision radically better futures if we ever hope to actually solve these problems we're dealing with today, rather than constantly repeat the same damn mistakes generation after generation. If you truly believe it's just human nature to be greedy, selfish, hateful, and otherwise apathetic to the world around you, and that we can't do anything about it, then of course you'll never fight to build a better world. It is precisely that lack of imagination that leads people to believe that the best they can do is just to game the system or be one at the table or be the one at the table instead of mulching the table and feeding everyone everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And as much as I love superhero stories, isekai, lit RPGs, progression fantasies, space operas, and so on, if the most hopeful stories we create and consume are about individuals being individually strong, smart, powerful, or otherwise personally overcoming great odds to save the world, but the world itself never really changes, then what really is the lesson? You know, what's there to hope for besides being good in a fucked up world? And yes, that does apply to teams as well. We have to want more, not just from ourselves as individuals, but from all of us as a society. Solarpunk and its related genres, like hope punk, cozy fiction, and even some climate fiction, are daring to dream beyond today's problems. They are imagining worlds that have figured out how to actually, or at least try to, win the fights we've been fighting for generations. They still have conflict that feels realistic, both as storytelling tools and as a part of the world they built. But those conflicts are either exceptions rather than the norm, or simply just better problems to have. Creative conflict, if you will, as opposed to the destructive or nihilistic conflicts we often face today. And if you're wondering what that means, please check out my other writing, because that's exactly what I have been exploring and in my other videos, right? All that being said, all is not lost. As I've been out in the world more, getting involved with orgs and initiatives I find compelling, I've been noticing how many people are essentially living a solarpunk life without even realizing it. Many people are deciding to do what they can to produce the things they consume locally and regeneratively instead of depending completely on this inherently exploitive, destructive, and rapacious imperialist capitalist system. Right? I've been especially focused on food production and construction because I believe it's the key to helping people become self sufficient as anarchic communities, largely independent of the state or corporations. If we can feed and house ourselves, we are infinitely closer to truly giving all the power to all the people. Many of us inherently know the importance of self sufficiency through communal solidarity. If you can produce your own food, or freaking food distro, or just pool together your resources with your neighbors, then you won't need to go to the store as much, thus saving money and ensuring you have some measure of safety from economic hardship and fluctuations. Beyond the desire to survive, though, are those setting themselves up to thrive. People who are imagining what a better future could look like if they are able to live more in tune with the environment today. They aren't just trying to be urban farmers with monocrops or live off grid. They are trying their damnedest to rediscover sustainable, regenerative, indigenous practices of communal living. And yes, many of these people happen to be black or in community with us. Going forward, I may use the term New African because I find it quite compelling, especially to go beyond race and colonial epithets. But either way, I have been ecstatic to see how many of us are out here just doing the damn thing. This is not exclusive to black folks, obviously. This is not about ownership or trying to control anything. This is about participation and inclusion. It's me sharing how my personal experience in the real world have beautifully colored my perception of solarpunk media and its potential for real world change. This is me trying to do my small part in remedying the lack of black culture in sci-fi and fantasy genres, in even ones as radical as solarpunk and hope punk. This is the call for black people, for new Africans, Pan Africans, and other folks across the diaspora to get into the solarpunk space, to recognize our inherent power and history with imagining better futures for ourselves. Afrofuturism is fantastic, but I want us to do more. To not just constrain ourselves to one genre, and to ensure our Afrofuturism is itself not just imagining ourselves at the capitalist hegemonic table. Most of that shit, remember. Let me show you what I mean. In the last couple of weeks, I've been to the Roots and Earth family farm, which is doing all sorts of incredible work. In just 5 years since moving to Atlanta, they turned a typical yard you see here in the metro area into a burgeoning food forest. They got water catchment systems and a tool library and so many awesome things. They've been teaching workshops around how to do natural earth builds like clay ovens and super adobe structures. I've been to Project South, a mutual aid center growing a huge community garden, paying a special attention to involving the youth and elders. They also have a lot of space they lend out to all manner of local organizations to gather and discuss with the community. They even have a mini library and will be restarting their thrift store. Looking forward to that. I've been to the home of a green cloth collective founder who is turning their yard into a veritable permaculture garden. They discovered there was a lot of lead and other heavy metals in the soil from the lead paint that was used when the house was built back in the 60s. So, we're going to be doing land healing, that is, bioremediation, workshops to both work on the land and teach and involve the community as we do it. And a lot of this is thanks to working with Building Kujijakuya, which has Black Land Bus Project inspired by the Jessup Wagon and was itself founded by the community's desire to build a community kitchen instead of Cop City. Stop Cop City. But it's not just here in Atlanta. I've been learning and getting inspired by North Philly Peace Park, which has been creating an urban center in the middle of an underserved neighborhood to serve the community with fresh food and community built learning centers. The Abolitionist Atlas, a sort of modern day green book mapping out various liberatory practices in the Black South. And since y'all on video, y'all can see it. It's beautiful. Cooperation Jackson, an incredible and dedicated coalition building a solidarity economy in Mississippi. They regularly share their extensive knowledge through the Build and Fight formula. Y'all go look it up. Indigenous Hawaiians rebuilding their ancient food forests has also been a huge inspiration for me. And of course, the many international efforts like Kasiki High, I think it's pronounced, in Tanzania, to Chad's Lake Project, to the overall Great Green Wall of Africa project, and countless more. Links in the description. And please share what you know if you know more international projects, because I've been hyper focused on the local stuff, on what's local to me. These are just the modern day examples I've stumbled across. I've also been learning a lot more about the rich history of Black people refusing to be subjugated and fighting for true freedom from all oppression. From the long history of the Gullah Geechee and Maroons using knowledge of the land to win against the US government, to the history of African people hiding seeds in their hair once they realized the scope of the transatlantic slave trade to ensure they would be able to eat when they were taken, to the Luku system in Haiti and other family farm systems enslaved folks fostered across the Americas in order to feed and heal each other, even amidst such horrifying conditions. Natural remedies foraged and or grown locally runs deep in the Black and New African culture, not just done blindly either, but through a scientific process developed amidst stark oppression. Recall how your grandma always knew some tincture or natural remedy to help with sickness. I don't know about you, but my grandma had a whole herbalism textbook she used to read in addition to her ancestral knowledge. All of this made me realize why I like Solarpunk so much. Not just because of the cool and hopeful aesthetics, and certainly not because of some cottagecore naivety, but because of the very real, historical, and radically optimistic practice that my people have had for generations. The Black radical struggle has always been one of optimism, not based on some passive hope, but an active, diligent, and tenacious process of birthing a better future. With all the ups and downs, pains and joys that requires, it's a refusal of despair. Being Black is not a choice. Being racialized was horrible. But the way Black radicals have characterized Blackness to be about solidarity and rebellion and liberation despite all odds is exactly the type of optimism I'm driven by. It's that fierce hope that we can and will stop even the most pervasive of atrocities if we fight with love and tenacity by any means necessary. Despite our racialization, we build community and true freedom. Despite facing poverty and eradication, we created something from nothing. That refusal to accept injustice is exactly what is needed to create utopia, to create something radically better, to build better futures for the next generation. Black folks across the diaspora have always been punk, literally helping to invent the movement, have always fought oppression, as Huey P. Newton showed, have always utilized the technology of the day to speak truth to power, to fight the power, and to give power to the people. Above all, we have always been stewards, children, and proponents of Mother Earth. This reality has really been solidified in my mind after coming across a simple but powerful phrase New Africans always say: free the land. Free the land. This is not just a cry to free the people. Of course, that's a part of it. And it's certainly not an application to be free to be a capitalist or be included in this destructive colonial imperial project. It's a yearning, a vision, and a revolutionary practice to free the earth from the clutches of this genocidal, ecocidal death cult trying to drive us to extinction. It's a recognition that none of us are free until all of us are free. That we must care for Mother Earth if we ever expect to also be cared for. It's a call to action in the culture of love and to enjoy ourselves as we do it. Tony Cade Bambara said it best. As a culture worker who belongs to an oppressed people, my job is to make revolution irresistible. I love that. Make a revolution irresistible. In order to free ourselves, to fight for peace, to build better futures, we must free the land. And we must get everyone excited to do the same thing. We must make revolution irresistible. For generations, black culture has influenced the world. People pay attention to our fashion, our music, our movements, our language, our bodies, and even our minds, though they don't like to admit it, especially that part. That's exactly why America has tried so hard to commodify our people and our culture. And they've gotten clever about it recently. They influence our media to depress actual radical messages in favor of violence and sellouts. They make it seem like our history is non existent or only constrained to entertainment or sports. They criminalize and demonize and patronize our radicals into obscurity or worse, uncritical idolization. Or is it patronize? You get what I mean, right? Capitalists are seeking to subvert many of our actually revolutionary ideas by making us think that we are already free, that we just have to work a little harder to get the bag, that we too can be capitalists. They want us to believe that we can no longer hope to truly change the world for the better, that the only change we can hope for is reformation or submission and profit seeking. I say no. Nah, I'm not with that. I don't accept it. I'm not buying it. I believe that we can and will create a world that is radically better, that runs on love instead of war, that fosters the environment instead of destroys it, that invents eco-friendly, pro-social technology rather than pollutive and extractive tools for antisocial control, that supports mutual aid and community cooperation rather than exploitation and greed as a viable business model, that spreads curiosity and inclusive intersectionality rather than anti-intellectualism and xenophobic supremacy, that instead of the patriarchy protects all people, no matter their identity, and all life, no matter their perceived value, and even the non-living things as a practice in radical love and conscientiousness. I believe we can create a world where many worlds exist, a future where many futures are possible. Black culture, through the Black radical tradition, is especially equipped to be a doula for these futures. But today, far too many organizers have fallen into the hole of only campaigning for electoral politics, or the myth of black buying power, or even just being a new state government rather than actually changing the system wholesale. We need to remember what it means to be radical. That it is possible to imagine something that does not yet exist and bring it into fruition through a rediscovering of lost heritage, reinventing oneself to meet the moment, and a reevaluation of the status quo and to rebel against injustice. We can build something better and beautiful in the ashes, the bones, and compost of even the mightiest beasts once fell. We already have done this and are constantly doing so. We just need to see the bigger picture again and spread the gospel of what it really means to build heaven on earth, to go where the people are through action and art, to excite the masses and empower everyone to build together. That's why Solarpunk needs black people and why black people need to use Solarpunk. Because Solarpunk is not just media, it's media in motion. It's a movement. It's people writing their own stories of hope, even when it feels like there is none. It's rediscovering old wisdoms to apply to new problems. It's a self-determination, even when they try to put you in a box. It's people rejecting colonization, control, monopoly, surveillance, and all that other bullshit in favor of community, creativity, hard work, corralled by a strong love ethic, and a dedication to making life better for all people by showing unconditional love for our own people. It's revolutionary justice, and that's hella black to me. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. I messed that up. The revolution will not be televised. It has to be lived. Fuck it, we do it live. Thank you.